All right, Rene, thank you so much for joining us on the Great Retention today. I'm super excited to jump in and hear your journey, the journey with American Auto Shield, just the experience, the lessons learned. For our audience, Rene, if you don't mind, share us a little bit about American Auto Shield. If you can just kind of give us an overview about the business and just so our audience knows just overall about the company.
We're a third-party administrator. Our number one priority is taking care of our contract holders who have bought the service contracts that we're administering for. So when I first started with the company in middle of 2019, we had just under 100 employees and 75 of those were in the contact center. So they were answering phones, handling the claims for our customers. And, prior to my joining and even during my tenure, we did not succeed in delivering to our customer. We were struggling with keeping up pace with the growth, keeping enough employees getting them in the company. And, we earned some of the poor reputation that we had at the time. However, in the last 2 years, we worked really hard to turn that around. And I think we've done a great job. We currently have just under 650 employees, and 520 or so of those are actually in the contact center now, taking care of our customers, interacting with them on a daily basis with claims, answering the phone, payments, things like that.
Got it. Yeah. And so I know a call center, just customer service can be tough, right? It's, a lot of times when people are calling, it's not because they're, in a great mood, right? And so, large majority of your team, the employees at American Auto Shield are in that call center role or customer service role. So talk to us a little bit about the culture, right? So tell us a little bit about, I'd love to hear, what does culture mean to you as an executive leader, but also about American Auto Shield. And it sounds like you've had significant growth over the last couple of years as well. So I'd love to hear a little bit, maybe how that culture has evolved as well.
Culture to me is how we interact with each other. I think, collaboration, respect, that sets the tone for everything that we do. And if we do that well, then we're going to be able to execute successfully. It was easy when we were in the office. You could feel the culture. You could walk around the contact center. You could gather people in a conference room, plan activities after work. You could meet in the break room. So it was a little bit easier to do all of that. But when we went remote, that becomes much more difficult. You're dealing with everyone, like through a camera or over the phone. So we have to put a lot more effort into it. And we kind of let our culture get away from us. I think not that we were ignoring it, but we were so focused on keeping things moving, handling all the hiring that we were having to do when we went work from home, that we were focused on those foundational items to kind of keep the business running, make sure we're taking care of our customers. And once we got those things in place, then we really started turning our eye to, we have to start taking better care of our employees. And we really need to start focusing on developing and fostering a culture here at the company, because, we can hire people in, but we have to give them a reason to stay. And culture is a big part of that. So we've spent a lot of time in the past 6 to 8 months really focusing on that, and have a lot of great initiatives planned to keep that continuing that.
Yeah, I like what you said. You spend all this time, energy, resources to bring people in, but then you got to give them a reason to stay, right? So right. I totally understand that. And now my understanding is it's a remote work culture, right? It's remote work is the way that you're operating today at American Auto Shield. So how have you approached an engagement strategy, just given the dynamics, right? Remote, call center, customer support. How have you focused on increasing that sense of engagement, giving people, I guess, a reason to stay at American Auto Shield?
Yeah, when we made the decision to stay work from home, that was probably mid 2020 or 21, actually. We started that focus. We made the decision to hire a full-time employee engagement manager. Several of us in the company were working on engagement, here or there, trying to get things going. But we also had our regular responsibilities. So we knew that if we were going to get serious about it, we had to hire someone that was going to be their full-time job. So we brought that person in, and she's very focused on those forward-moving engagement initiatives, getting things in place for our employees to get them more engaged. But it also starts back with our recruiting initiatives. So we made a change in how we were recruiting, make it a much more seamless process for candidates. We're doing things to try to attract more candidates to the company. We're on all the sites and giving them not just the job description of, here's what you're going to do when you come in, but also trying to give them a feel of what the company's like. We have current employee testimonials, things that they can see, and we're working on day in the life videos. And then once we hire them, they accept the offer, we knew that we were going to have to improve our onboarding experience. So you can't just throw them into a position, expect them to succeed. We have to spend more time in that onboarding to make them comfortable with what they're going to be doing, give them a great overview of the company, and how their role is going to fit within with how everybody else is doing. And then also training, providing world-class training. So we've made significant investments in that part of our company. We've grown the training organization. We've hired instructional designers to make sure that we're developing content and delivery methods that are going to work for different people. Everybody learns differently, so we have to approach that in the right way. And then we do regular check-ins with our employees, 30, 60, 90 days. Are the standard format, but we have a really robust performance management framework. So people know, the role that they're coming in. We practice pay transparency. And then we also outline a path for them. Where could they go in that current role? What are other positions within the company that they could train or do some additional education to move into those types of positions? So we, again, back to that, giving them a reason to stay. We want them to look at this as a career, not just a job.
Yeah. So you just shared a lot of great insights there, Rene. So I want to focus in on a couple things there. So you shared that you and the executive team made a decision to have a full-time dedicated person on employee engagement.
Right.
And so what I hear from a lot of leaders is that, conceptually, yeah, we all want this. We think that it's important, but everyone kind of takes bits and pieces of it, and there's not a cohesive strategy. And so the fact that your team made that decision to make that investment, talk to us a little bit about how that came about. How did the executive team say, okay, you know what, this is something we're going to invest in. We're going to, essentially get serious about this. And so when did that happen? How many employees even were you at that point? What was kind of the critical sparks or the things that you said, okay, we're going to make this decision now? And I'm just thinking for other leaders, when, if I'm another, leader, when should I make that decision? At what point does it make sense? So if you can share a little more on that, that'd be helpful.
I mean, I wish we would have made the decision sooner. Initially, when it hit us is, last summer, we were probably at just under 600 employees, and we were experiencing a lot of turnover. So we had people leaving. We're hearing, it's the economy, and there's a lot more job availability, or people are making the decision that, maybe they need to stay home now because of what's going on with COVID and things that they're dealing with their family or their children. But we felt that it was more than that. That's certainly a piece of it. But we also felt that where there are so many opportunities now for employees, that if they're not happy in a role, there's another role out there for them. It's not like it was years ago when it was hard to find jobs. So there's so many jobs that, again, it gets back to that. We have to figure out a reason to make them want to stay. And that's when we decided that, we were not doing a great job with that engagement portion of it, and that we really needed to have somebody come in and focus on it. I was trying to do my best. That's not my strength, is the engagement piece. And the Jennifer is the person who we hired. She's really good at that. She's got great ideas, great background in that, and having that dedication really moved us, months ahead of where we would have been if we hadn't done that.
So the other thing that you shared, I thought was interesting, was that, so a lot of times when people think of Gen Z, millennials, younger demographics, it's like, the happy hours, the pool tape, those kind of things. But you spoke a little bit differently. You spoke about career path. You spoke about, having consistent performance management, right? And
Right.
I guess performance bonuses around that. And so I think there's maybe a stereotype that, that's not important to a younger demographic, but from what I'm hearing from you is that's a critical part of your engagement strategy, or keep reasons for people to stay. Am I reading that right?
I believe it is. I believe everyone wants feedback. They want to know how they're doing. They don't want to wait for the annual review to find out that they weren't hitting the mark. And so that's why we've set more frequent and timely feedback with our employees, because I think they want to know so that they can make the corrections needed. I always say, like, nobody wakes up in the morning saying to themselves, how can I go in and really mess things up today? I think everybody wakes up wanting to go in and do a good job. They want to make an impact. And at the end of the day, they want to feel like they made a difference. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that, give them that feeling of accomplishment, and that they are making a contribution, that's not just, punching a time clock.
It absolutely makes sense. And so we've kind of touched on some of these areas that you've been experiencing, but the big buzzword right now that I hear from a lot of leaders is the Great Resignation. So people looking for another job, whether they're not appreciated, they don't feel like they have that career path, whatever it might be. But now, in terms of where we are in the industry, they might be able to find that other job. How has American Auto Shield been impacted by the Great Resignation, or has it? Are there specific things that you've done to be intentional or proactive to, again, give people a reason to stay? I think you shared some of that already. I'm just curious, anything else that comes to mind when it comes to offsetting the Great Resignation?
Yes, absolutely. We were impacted by what everyone's terming as the Great Resignation. And I think it kind of snuck up on us when we realized that, we were seeing more people leave, and the result, there's more jobs available, and people aren't going to stick around if they don't feel that it's like an ideal situation for them, as far as where they're going to go every day. And so one of the first things that we did is we partnered with a company called Talent Suite and Predictive Index. And we started using their tools and their platform to get a better sense of what drives and motivates people. And we do this all the way from initial recruiting. So candidates that apply will do this quick 5-minute assessment. And then all of our existing employees at the time took the assessment also. And that's really given us a much better tool to be able to understand kind of what makes people tick. What are the things that are going to work, not work for them in the position. And it's also helped us get people in the right position. Sometimes you can have an employee who's just great attitude, shows up every day, wants to do a great job, but maybe the role that you have them in isn't quite right. And so we can either help develop their skills or get them in a role. We have lots of different jobs within the organization that is a better fit for them. And it, is a good situation for all of us, and we retain an employee. So we use those tools. We also partnered with CoolLeaf to develop and use the platform for employee recognition and rewards for employees. So it was a great way to quickly implement a tool where we could engage with people, use the resources there that CoolLeaf had developed without having to spend a lot of time developing that on our own. But when we had our engagement manager come in, that was one of the first things that she worked on, was getting that implemented. And then we're also working on a launch of a company intranet platform. Right now, all of our communication is done via email, and that's not terribly effective. So the company intranet will be a kind of a one-stop shop for company communication, and it'll be the place where employees can go and they can get to all the tools and resources they need in order to do their job.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's super helpful, Renee. So just to kind of sum up what I heard is, one, it's actually taking the time through the predictive index to understand the personality type, the strengths, where people are going to thrive, and then helping to place them in the role, maybe even the manager. So that's really interesting. That you're in, even going to the recruiting process, doing that. So I think that's really, really interesting.
One other thing that we've done is we've spent a lot of time also investing in our management team. So from the team lead on up, making sure that we're giving them the skills and the tools necessary so that they can be better managers to their direct reports. We're moving quickly. We were growing so fast. A lot of employees were getting promoted into like team lead positions, and we weren't really preparing them for that. We taught them here's how you do a timesheet, that kind of thing, but not how to really grow and develop their staff, have those tough conversations that as a manager, you need to learn how to have. So we've spent time investing in what we call a leadership academy to develop that level of our organization as well.
Yeah, no, really interesting. So, focusing on your people leaders, just because someone's a great, operational employee doesn't mean they're a great people leader, right? So that makes total sense. The predictive index, I like that. You mentioned recognition. So just appreciating, rewarding individuals, that means a lot to people.
Right.
And this is all, I guess, like you said earlier, it's not just one thing. It's an overall kind of focus and strategy that you're committing to.
Right.
This is really helpful, Renee. I appreciate you sharing just the experience, right? Just kind of the real lessons learned, that you've gone through over these last couple of years. So as we wrap up, the final question for leaders who are listening, maybe, hey, they've made the decision to have a remote work, environment, but understand the need around engagement. Is there any other kind of lessons learned, practical advice that you would share that might help other leaders as they're looking to navigate the Great Resignation, engagement, and so forth?
Sure. I think it's important to make yourself available and open to feedback. And by available, I mean, encourage people to email you, message you, grab time on your calendar from all levels of the organization in order to let you know how things are going, how they're feeling about the company, their jobs, changes that we're making, changes they think we need to make. We hold regular skip level meetings. I've personally attended, into the team meetings at the team lead level to talk to people. And a lot of people won't take you up on that. They may not think that you're sincere, but if you keep up the practice and make sure that you're talking to those that do reach out, because they're usually talking for, 10 or 20 other people that didn't feel comfortable coming to you. So I think that's important. And then listening to the feedback. I've been still guilty sometimes of not maybe listening or reacting the way I should have. But I think if you can take the time to reflect on what they told you, there's a lot of good ideas there. They're at the front line, most of them. So they know a lot better than you do about what's actually going on or the impact that some of the changes that you're making are having.
Thank you so much, Renee. This is so helpful. I know this is top of mind for many, many leaders right now. Just, attracting, retaining talent is huge priority. So to hear from you, executive leader at American Auto Shield, large call center environment, remote work. I mean, your experience and these lessons learned are super valuable for other leaders. So I really appreciate you sharing with us today.
Thank you, John. It was my pleasure.